Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are diving into Earth's most isolated, heavily restricted, and, let's be honest, deeply misunderstood landmass. We're talking about a place that's twice the size of Australia. Think about that for a second. It holds 90% of the entire world's ice, and yet, for centuries, it was literally just a massive blank space on our maps. I am incredibly excited to guide you step by step through the frozen mysteries of Antarctica, a continent that might just hold the ultimate secrets to our planet's true history.
Okay, let's dive into this. We have a fascinating chronological journey ahead of us today. We'll be looking at 1. The ancient green continent, 2. Early maps and ghost ships, 3. The World War II era, 4. The treaty and hidden lakes, 5. Modern satellite mysteries, and finally, 6. The future of the ice.
So let's kick things off with Section 1, the ancient green continent, going back 100 million years.
Before it was the howling, frozen wasteland we know today, this place was actually a vibrant landscape covered in lush, temperate rainforests. Let's track the timeline of this dramatic freeze step by step. Starting at our first marker, 100 million years ago, this continent had meandering rivers and evergreen forests. We actually know this for a fact, because during the 1912 Scott expedition, explorers discovered fossilized leaves that looked just like beech trees, only 500 kilometers from the South Pole. Moving down the timeline, subglacial lakes were sealed off around 25 million years ago, and by 12 million years ago, the tundra was completely freezing over. So the freeze was this incredibly slow, multi-million-year process.
You might be wondering, how exactly does a literal rainforest turn into a block of ice? Well, let's walk step by step through a theory known as true polar wander. Step 1. The entire outer shell of the Earth actually moves over its inner layers. Step 2. This shift causes the geographic poles to rapidly change positions. And Step 3. The continents are pulled into completely new climate zones. While it's definitely debated by mainstream scientists, it's a completely fascinating concept. Interestingly enough, the early 20th century figure Edgar Cayce, the guy they called the Sleeping Prophet, famously prophesied that the Earth's axis would eventually shift again, causing Antarctica to unfreeze and reveal ancient secrets. Moving right along to Section 2, Early Maps and Ghost Ships, covering the 1500s to the 1800s.
This was an era where incredible isolation bred some really unsettling mysteries on the high seas. And that brings us to the famous Peary Race map, created way back in 1513. It appears to show the coastline of Antarctica, but without any of its ice. When we look at this, we're basically faced with two very different perspectives. Mainstream science argues that any accuracy here is purely coincidental, and that the map just reflects an early belief in a theoretical southern continent called Terra Australis. On the other side of the coin, the alternative theory, which was popularized by historian Charles Hapgood, suggests that a lost, highly advanced seafaring culture actually mapped an ice-free coastline thousands of years ago. We're just laying out the source material impartially here, but man, the debate is undeniably captivating.
As explorers pushed further and further south, the ice claimed a lot of lives. In the early 1840s, a British whaling ship discovered a schooner named the Jenny, frozen totally solid in the ice. The eerie part? The crew was entirely frozen in place, sitting perfectly upright at their stations. The captain's logbook contained this absolutely chilling final entry. May 4th, 1823. No food for 71 days. I am the only one left alive. It's just a stark, grim reminder of the harsh, unforgiving reality of this forbidden place.
Let's jump ahead to Section 3, the World War II era, focusing on the 1930s and 40s.
During this time, global conflict cast a long, mysterious shadow over the ice. Let's follow this step by step. In 1938, Nazi Germany launched a mapping mission on the MS Schwabenland, claiming a vast territory they dubbed Neuschwabenland. Fast forward to 1945, 2 months after Germany's surrender, 2 German U-boats arrived under highly mysterious circumstances in Argentina. Then, the very next year in 1946, the U.S. launched Operation High Jump, the largest Antarctic military expedition in history, led by Admiral Richard E. Byrd. Bizarrely, in 1947, this massive operation was abruptly cut short weeks earlier than scheduled, and as you can imagine, that sparked endless speculation.
The early end to Operation High Jump caused fringe lore to absolutely explode. Rumors immediately swirled about secret subterranean Nazi bases hiding in Neuschwabenland. There were wild tales of Admiral Byrd's secret diary, where he allegedly flew into a warm inner Earth realm called Agartha, populated by an advanced civilization. Stories also connected all of this to experimental disk technology and a supposed anti-gravity device called Die Glocke, or the Bell. Now, it is absolutely crucial to note here that historians find zero solid evidence for these extraterrestrial or anti-gravity claims. But, fact or fiction, these stories have permanently attached themselves to the continent's lore.
Which brings us to Section 4, the Treaty and Hidden Lakes, from the 1950s up to the present.
This is a period where sudden, unprecedented international cooperation effectively locked the continent down. In 1959, 12 nations, including bitter Cold War rivals like the US and the Soviet Union, signed the Antarctic Treaty, completely demilitarizing the continent. So I have to pose this question to you. Was this a noble effort for global peace and science, or, as some theorists suggest, a coordinated cover-up? The incredibly strict regulations on human access and the massive off-limits areas continue to fuel conspiracy theories even today.
And this brings us to a mind-blowing number, 400. That is the staggering number of hidden subglacial lakes scientists have actually discovered beneath the ice. It's like a giant hidden network. The most famous one is Lake Vostok, which is buried under nearly 4,000 meters of solid ice and has been sealed off for over 15 million years. Down there, in complete darkness and under immense pressure, scientists are discovering that these lakes are literally teeming with strange microbial life.
Perhaps the strangest natural phenomenon fueled by these underground waters is blood falls. It's exactly what it sounds like, a bizarre 5-story high waterfall that literally looks like blood pouring right out of the Taylor Glacier. Mainstream science explains this as an ancient subglacial lake pushing iron-rich, highly saline water to the surface, where it oxidizes and turns red, revealing extremophile microbes. However, alternative theories claim this red water is actually waste leaking from an underground biological experiment or some sort of hidden base. Once again, the contrast between incredible natural science and persistent fringe theory is a huge running theme here.
This brings us right into Section 5, Modern Satellite Mysteries, covering the 2000s to the present.
With platforms like Google Earth, everyday people scanning the ice from their laptops have sparked a massive resurgence in Antarctic mysteries. Let's track these modern digital discoveries step by step. In the early 2000s, rumors spread online of the Ningen, a massive 30-meter pale humanoid creature reportedly spotted by Japanese research vessels. In 2016, satellite imagery captured a huge shape resembling a legendary kraken near Deception Island. And also in 2016, a highly geometric pyramid-like peak in the Ellsworth Mountains was heavily mapped and analyzed by online sleuths.
Let's look a little closer at that Ellsworth Mountain anomaly. The geological explanation is that this is a nunatak, which is basically a mountain peak poking through the ice that has been sharpened into a pyramid shape by millions of years of freeze-thaw weathering. The fringe theory, however, looks at its 4 symmetrical faces and argues, no way, it's an ancient, artificially constructed pyramid, pointing to a shared prehistoric architecture with places like Egypt. And the anomalies don't stop at pyramids. Satellites and ground teams have spotted huge geometric shadow openings that look exactly like doorways leading into the mountains. There are parallel lines resembling carved staircases, a massive formation that looks just like a carved face staring up from the snow, and perfectly mummified seal bodies found high in the mountains, miles and miles away from the ocean. Even with logical, scientific explanations for ice movement and erosion, I got to admit, these feel like deliberate, surreal puzzles left in the snow.
Finally, let's step into Section 6, the future of the ice.
We really need to look at what happens next to this continent as the protective barriers of extreme cold begin to break down. The absolutely crucial point here is the number 3. The Antarctic Peninsula has warmed by a shocking 3 degrees Celsius in just the last 50 years. This extreme temperature shift is causing ice shelves to collapse, threatening to eventually melt 90% of the world's fresh water. If that happens, it would dramatically raise global sea levels. It's a massive, massive game changer.
But warming brings another immediate threat too: biological invaders. Look at these step-by-step breaches of the ecosystem. In 2014, an infestation of tiny, non-native springtail bugs actually forced the total shutdown and sterilization of a facility at Australia's Davis Station. Mushroom flies have somehow been surviving in station sewage systems for decades, and global mussels are literally hitching rides on the hulls of tourist ships. It's playing out like a real-life alien invasion of a once perfectly isolated ecosystem.
Which leaves us with a final, really provocative thought. If the ice fully recedes, will Antarctica simply return to its ancient green, forested past, or will it unleash something far more unpredictable upon the world? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. I hope this